Hey, I noticed you've been trying to learn English for a while now. How's it going?
Well, not as well as I'd hoped. I keep procrastinating and not making as much progress as I should.
Oh, I know that feeling. Procrastination can be a real roadblock. But what exactly makes you procrastinate when it comes to studying English?
I'm not sure. I guess there are so many distractions. Like whenever I sit down to study, I suddenly remember that I need to check my emails or scroll through social media. And before I know it, hours have passed.
I totally get it. Social media is a huge time sucker. But we need to find ways to overcome these distractions. Have you tried setting specific goals for your English learning?
I've set some goals, but they seem so far off and overwhelming. Like I want to be fluent in a year, but when I think about all the things I need to do to get there, I just get discouraged.
I see. Maybe you should break your big goal into smaller, more manageable ones. For example, instead of aiming for fluency in a year, set a goal to learn 10 new English words every day this week. Then, next week, you can add something like practicing speaking for 15 minutes a day.
That sounds more doable. But what if I still find myself procrastinating even with these small goals?
One thing that helps me is using a timer. When I study English, I set a timer for 25 minutes, which is a Pomodoro. During that time, I focus solely on my English tasks, whether it's reading an article or doing grammar exercises. When the timer goes off, I take a 5-minute break. After 4 Pomodoros, I take a longer break.
That's an interesting approach, but I'm worried I'll just ignore the timer and keep doing other things.
You could try using apps that block distractions. There are apps like Forest, where you plant a virtual tree, and if you leave the app to use other distractions, the tree dies. It gives you an incentive to stay focused. Also, you can tell your friends and family about your English learning goals and ask them to hold you accountable.
I haven't thought about that. I guess having someone to check in on me would be helpful. But sometimes I'm just not in the mood to study English. I feel like I need to be in the right mindset.
I understand, but waiting for the right mood can be a trap. The truth is, most of the time, if you just start studying, you'll get into the flow. You could start with something really easy and fun, like watching a short English language cartoon. It gets you in the English learning mindset without feeling like a chore.
That's a good point. I always thought I had to start with something really serious, like reading a difficult English textbook.
Well, that can be intimidating, especially when you're prone to procrastination. Another thing is to create a dedicated study space. If you have a corner of your room or a desk that's just for studying English, it signals to your brain that it's time to focus. Make sure it's free from distractions, like removing your TV remote or putting your phone on silent.
I don't have a lot of space, but I could clear off a small table in my room. But what if I get stuck on a particular grammar point or vocabulary word and it makes me lose motivation?
That happens to everyone. When you encounter something difficult, don't let it derail you. You can look up different explanations online. There are great websites like Grammarly's Grammar blog that explain grammar in an easy to understand way. For vocabulary, you can use apps like vocabulary.com, which uses games and context to help you learn new words.
I've used Grammarly for writing, but I didn't know about their grammar blog, and I'll check out vocabulary.com. Sometimes I also feel like I'm not seeing results fast enough, and that makes me want to give up.
Learning a language takes time, but you can track your progress in different ways. Keep a record of how many new words you've learned each week, or how much better you're getting at understanding English podcasts. You can also take short quizzes every month to see how much you've improved. And don't forget to celebrate small victories. If you manage to have a 10-minute conversation in English without hesitation, that's a huge accomplishment.
I guess I've been too focused on the end goal and not paying enough attention to the small steps. But what about when I have a really busy schedule? It's hard to find time to study.
Even when you're busy, you can still find pockets of time. When you're commuting, you can listen to English podcasts or audiobooks. During your lunch break, you can read a short English article or practice some vocabulary. And if you have a few minutes before going to bed, you can review some grammar rules.
I usually listen to music when I commute, but I could definitely switch to English learning materials. Do you have any favorite English podcasts for beginners?
English Pod is great. It has short, dialogue-based episodes that cover a wide range of everyday topics. Each episode comes with vocabulary explanations and cultural notes. Another one is ESL Podcast. They have different series for various levels, from beginner to advanced, and they cover everything from workplace English to daily conversations.
That sounds perfect. I'll start listening to them on my commute. But sometimes I make plans to study English in the evening, but then I get home and I'm too tired.
I know how that feels. But you don't have to do a full-blown study session. You can do something as simple as practicing a few English tongue twisters. It's fun and helps with pronunciation. Or you can quickly review the English words you learned during the day. Just a few minutes of practice can keep the momentum going.
I like the idea of tongue twisters. It seems like a low effort way to still practice English, but what if I keep making the same mistakes in my English? Like mispronouncing certain words or using the wrong grammar?
That's normal. The key is to identify those mistakes and work on them specifically. You can record yourself speaking English and listen back to it. You'll be able to spot the pronunciation mistakes. For grammar, keep a notebook of the grammar mistakes you make and review them regularly. You can also ask a native English speaker or an English teacher for feedback.
I'm a bit shy about asking others for feedback. I'm worried they'll think my English is bad.
Most people are really helpful, especially if they know you're trying to learn. And remember, everyone starts as a beginner. You can also join online English learning communities. There are forums on Reddit like RR.
I didn't know about that Reddit community. I'll definitely check it out. But sometimes I get bored with the traditional ways of learning English, like doing grammar exercises or memorizing vocabulary.
There are lots of creative ways to learn. You can watch English, language movies or TV shows with subtitles in your native language first to understand the story, and then watch them again with English subtitles. You can also play English language video games. Some games have great dialogues and can help you pick up new words and phrases in a fun way.
I love playing video games. I never thought I could use them to learn English, but what if I get too caught up in the game and forget about learning?
You can set some rules for yourself. For example, for every hour of gameplay, you have to spend 15 minutes writing down the new English words or phrases you heard in the game and looking up their meanings. Or you can try to translate some of the in-game instructions into your native language to reinforce your understanding.
That's a good way to balance gaming and learning. But what about when I'm traveling or on vacation? It's hard to keep up with my English studies.
Actually, traveling is a great opportunity to practice English. If you're in an English-speaking country, try to strike up conversations with locals. Order food in English at restaurants, ask for directions, and visit local events. If you're in a non-English-speaking country, you can still find English, language books or podcasts to keep learning. And you can write a travel journal in English to record your experiences.
I usually just take pictures and enjoy the scenery when I travel, but I'll make more of an effort to practice English next time. What if I have a study group, but some members keep procrastinating and it affects the whole group?
You can have a group discussion about everyone's goals and the importance of staying on track. Set group study schedules and hold each other accountable. If someone is constantly procrastinating, you can have a friendly conversation with them to see if there's anything the group can do to help. Maybe they're struggling with a particular aspect of English learning, and the group can support them.
That's a good idea. I think we need to have a more structured approach as a group. But sometimes I feel like I'm the only one who's serious about learning English in my social circle, and it's demotivating.
You can try to find like-minded people, join English language meetups in your city, or look for online study buddies. There are platforms like Tandem and HelloTalk where you can connect with other English learners. You can also share your learning journey on social media and see if there are people in your network who are interested in learning English too.
I'll look into those platforms. But what if I get sick or have an unexpected event that throws off my study schedule?
It's okay. Life happens. When that happens, don't be too hard on yourself. Just pick up where you left off as soon as you can. You can adjust your goals slightly. For example, if you missed a few days of studying due to being sick, instead of trying to catch up all at once, spread out the extra study time over the next week.
That makes sense. I always feel like I have to be perfect, and when I miss a day of studying, I get really down on myself.
Learning a language is a long-term process, and there will be ups and downs. The important thing is to keep going. You can also use these setbacks as learning opportunities. For example, if you missed a week of studying because of a family event, you can write about that experience in English in your journal, using it as a chance to practice your writing and reflect on how you can better manage your time in the future.
That's a positive way to look at it. But sometimes I feel like I'm not learning fast enough compared to others.
Everyone learns at their own pace. Comparing yourself to others will only demotivate you. Focus on your own progress and how far you've come. Remember, you started with little to no knowledge of English, and now you can understand some podcasts, read simple articles, and have basic conversations. That's a huge achievement.
You're right. I need to focus on my own journey, but what if I get bored with the English learning materials I'm using?
There are so many resources out there. If you're tired of textbooks, try reading English, language graphic novels, or comic books. They're fun and can help you improve your reading skills. You can also listen to English, language music, and try to understand the lyrics. And there are interactive websites like Busuu that offer a variety of learning activities, from grammar exercises to speaking practice with other learners.
I didn't know about English, language graphic novels. That sounds like a great alternative to textbooks. But what if I have a lot of other commitments like work and family, and it's hard to prioritize English learning?
You need to make English learning a priority. You can schedule it into your daily routine, just like you would a work meeting or a family dinner. Even if it's just for 30 minutes a day, make that time dedicated to English. And involve your family and friends in your learning. For example, you can watch an English language movie together as a family and discuss it afterwards.
That's a good way to integrate English learning into my life. But what if I keep losing my motivation?
You can find an English learning why. What's your ultimate goal for learning English? Is it to travel, get a better job, or communicate with people from around the world? When you're feeling unmotivated, remind yourself of that why. Also, you can change up your study routine every once in a while. If you've been focusing on reading, try focusing on speaking for a few weeks. Variety can keep things interesting and boost your motivation.
I want to learn English to be able to travel and communicate with people globally. I'll definitely keep that in mind when I'm feeling down. Thanks so much for all these tips. I'm really determined to overcome my procrastination and keep learning English.
You're welcome. I'm sure you'll make great progress if you stick with it. Let me know how it goes.
I will. Thanks again.